The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders. On the surface, wealthy plastic surgeon James and his homemaker wife, Julia, are the picture-perfect power couple. But behind closed doors, they both wrestle with personal demons.
Who's Miss Triple X?
When their marriage hits the rocks, detectives must look for a mysterious plus-size lady.
All right.
Who's dressed to kill. Seattle, Washington, a city blessed with natural beauty.
We'll lift a little here.
But for some citizens, natural is a relative term.
While we're at it, take care of that neck. It's quite a waddle you have.
James is a respected plastic surgeon with a very successful practice.
Edwin, can you please come in here for a moment?
His wife, Julia, is a happy homemaker and devoted mother to their only child, Isabel.
Isabel has her riding lesson at 4 o'clock. Can you please make sure she's properly attired?
James earns the big bucks, and Julia runs the household. It's 1984, so it's not that unusual a setup. On the surface, they appear to be playing their roles perfectly. But looks can be deceiving.
Hello?
You know, I don't like to be kept waiting.
James has a reputation for being a strict taskmaster.
I was in the bathroom.
I bet you were taking a bubble bath, getting ready to see your secret lover later.
James, please. I've got errands to run.
You know, it seems like Dr. James is not just a taskmaster, but controlling and a little bit paranoid. But I guess it comes with the territory. I mean, I might be paranoid if I had to please wealthy and potentially litigious clients. Or could it be he's not paranoid and Julia is actually having an affair? Can you blame her?
But there was a time when James wasn't always so in control. As for Julia, she was a free spirit who dreamed of becoming a painter. But she suffered from dramatic mood swings that she managed by self-medicating with Quaaludes and Benzedrine.
You gotta be careful with uppers like Benny's and downers like Ludes because you don't want to go up when you need to go down and down when you need to go up. Not that I would know. I mean, back in '77, I'd just bought my first Farrah Fawcett poster. But back to Julia and James. The thing with addicts, even the so-called high-functioning types, is they rely on their fix to get them through the day. The balancing act lasts only so long.
Hi, my name is Gail, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Gail.
Julia and James meet at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Even though it's against the rules to date while in Narcotics Anonymous, James and Julia can't resist one another. In the midst of kicking their habits, their relationship takes an unexpected turn.
A baby?
After a shotgun wedding, James opens his own plastic surgery clinic and expects Julia to quit her job and raise their child. But a few years into their picture-perfect marriage, cracks start to appear.
You're wearing that. Where's the halston?
I thought this would be more appropriate for tonight.
Appropriate for what? A hoedown?
If I ever talk to my wife like that, well, I don't, because waiting for the other shoe to drop makes me nervous. Anyway, Dr. James is what we call a dry drunk. His fix is controlling every aspect of his life, especially his wife. And as for Julia, well, she became a homemaker for this guy. She may love the money, but I can bet she's not loving the price she's having to pay.
Go change. We're going to be late.
No. I like this dress. Then you can stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Get ready, ladies. Here we go. 1, a 2, a 1, 2 step together. Yes.
Julia, no longer content to play the role of happy homemaker that James expects, starts asserting her independence.
Now watch me for the pony. Pony. Pony.
Beth, I'm a Rubik's Serafina speaking. How can I help you become your most fabulous self?
Put my wife on the phone now.
Julia's getting her groove back, and for a guy with James' ego and weaknesses, if he's losing control over his wife, then that makes him terrified he's losing control of his life.
She's teaching a class right now. Call back.
Who's the man? You are the man. Who is the man? You are the man.
When someone with James' coping mechanisms, or lack of them, is scared, they don't just run and hide. No, they come out swinging.
Well, if it isn't my little Jane Fonda home from another long day of leg lifts.
James, your material's getting old. Why don't you do your act for somebody that cares?
Are you forgetting who pays your way?
James, stop.
Or what? You'll leave? I've heard that before, honey. You wouldn't last a minute out there without my money. And you won't get Izzy. She can do better than a mother who neglects her.
You want to play dirty? Careful, because I'm ready to roll around in the mud.
I don't know where my wife is. Leave me alone, for Christ's sakes.
A successful surgeon and his beautiful wife make a pretty picture. But from the looks of the bedroom in the aftermath of their fight, it's a whole other story. It's possible Julia has taken off to cool down, or she's making plans to leave for good.
When Julia misses her aerobics classes that afternoon, her boss, Serafina, is concerned and goes to the police.
This is not like Julia. Her husband hated her working, like hated. You should hear the way he speaks to her.
All right, what is it you want me to do?
Find Julia.
What if I could? I'm just telling you there are procedures.
James might be controlling and verbally abusive, but while that's repulsive, it's not enough to open an investigation, yet. A person can't be declared officially missing until they've been gone at least 48 hours, and police will only conduct a search if they believe the disappearance is suspicious.
A few days later, detectives get a call from a gas station attendant.
I was just taking out the trash, man. Honestly.
Uh-huh. Julia, huh?
With 48 hours passed and the discovery of her ID, Julia is now officially considered a missing person. In the same bag as the ID, detectives find rope and nail clippers with what looks like dried blood on them, and an assortment of women's garments, all sized extra, extra large.
I know, right?
That's a whole lot of woman. Julia is petite, so I'd rule out the wardrobe as being hers, but whoever it does belong to could be involved with her disappearance or has knowledge of her whereabouts. The nail clippers are gonna need to be tested, because if the blood on them is a match to Julia, well, that might be evidence she was taken against her will. But before police go hunting for a Rubenesque mystery woman with colorful taste, they need to start closer to home. The first person they're gonna want to talk to is the husband.
Detectives want to know why James didn't report Julia as missing.
It's not the first time she's done this. The last time she abandoned her car behind a video rental store.
Well, how do you explain her ID found with a pile of garments that shall we say, should have belonged to someone with more generous proportions?
Absolutely no idea. All right. We had a fight. I found some used condoms behind the bed, so I confronted her. My guess is she ran away with her new lover. It's Julia's, in case you need a scent for the sniffer dogs.
This guy is so caring, it gets me right there. But giving cops your wife's blouse to get a scent for search dogs isn't the weirdest thing I've ever run across during any kind of investigation. In fact, I had this one guy who claimed to have a split personality, only the other personality was a dog. And I don't speak Rottweiler. Well, bits and pieces, but not fluent. So James has answers for all the police's questions, but as a cop, when you've got the scent of something that doesn't feel quite right, you gotta follow your nose and see where it takes you.
Detective Falco talks with Serafina, hoping she can shed some more light on Julia's whereabouts.
I told you something was up, but you didn't listen.
All right. You know what? I'm listening now. I'm all ears. Did she have any secrets? Okay. Look, her husband came to me. He indicated that she might be having something on the side.
What? Jimmy Boy's the one with the secrets. Julia told me everything.
Serafina tells detectives that Julia got suspicious that her husband was having an affair. She broke into a chest that James forbade her to touch, looking for evidence.
Don't touch those.
Who's Miss Triple X, huh?
They are not Triple X.
Whatever. But they are cheap.
Okay then, big lady's underwear, it's becoming a theme. But what exactly James is doing with a bunch of women's clothes in a locked chest in his bedroom is a mystery. Or is it? Could it be just a little kinky?
Fool denied that he was cheating on her, and he even commanded her to stop breaking into his guilty treasures box.
Oh, sorry. Want one?
I don't do candy.
Suit yourself. All right, so, you have any other information about Julia leaving her husband?
Yeah.
Serafina reveals that Julia had been planning her exit for some time, stashing away money and looking for an apartment for her and Isabel.
She was really gonna do it this time, even though she was petrified. Because if James found out, oh Lord.
You have to tell me where you're disappearing all night.
Me?
Yeah.
Julia confessed to Serafina that she and James argued, and that he was becoming more and more violent and paranoid.
Can your lover buy you all new clothes? No?
Serafina tells police that Julia couldn't bear the constant threat of abuse and violence.
I swear to you, there's no lover!
That's got us smart, and it looked like real silk, too. Julia's adamant she's not cheating, but James is not buying it. But that could be a classic misdirect. If you're the one having the affair, then you go on the offensive to shake any suspicion. All those big lady clothes, they make you wonder, could James have a mistress and they did something to take Julia out of the picture? But until police find Julia, it's only a theory.
But then, detectives catch a break. They get a call that a body has been found behind a video arcade that matches Julia's description. The body is officially ID'd as Julia.
From the state of decomposition, I'd say Julia has been dead more than a few days. So that puts it right around the time her husband claims she ran off with another guy. Now that they have Julia's body, they need to trace how it got there. And back in '84, when I started in the Bureau, forensics was a lot less high-tech, but the same rules applied. You want to solve a murder, you start with what the body tells you.
The autopsy concludes that Julia's cause of death was suffocation. The red fibers on her body turn out to be satin. And the towel Julia was wrapped in is determined to be a rare and expensive brand from Turkey. When police search the house, they discover a pillow with a trace of blood on it. Under the bed, they find a towel that is an exact replica of the one Julia's body was wrapped in.
You say, Steve, why not check the DNA? Well, back in '84, DNA profiling was just being developed. Nobody had ever even used it in a case. So to make a case in the '80s, it took more legwork. Every single piece of evidence has to conclusively connect to the crime. Back then, we just couldn't wave the DNA wand.
Thank you.
When the fibers on the pillow were tested, they're found to be a match for those found on Julia's body. And the blood on the pillow is Julia's blood type. That's enough for police to bring James in for questioning. But they can't find him anywhere. They search his bank records and discover that James has been withdrawing huge amounts of cash. They're worried he's planning on fleeing the country. Police managed to track James down at his travel agents.
What do you say we make like a stripper?
Absolutely not. I know my rights.
Actually, James, you don't. It's not uncommon for the police to ask people taken into custody to strip down. In this case, it's a chance to photograph any injuries, tattoos, or scars that can be key in their investigation. If James is hiding any cuts, bruises, or markings, the hope is they can be linked to Julia's murder.
The police identify recent scarring on James's torso and a little something else.
Yes, I am the big lady.
Oh, you're a big something, James. I gotta admit, I didn't see that coming. So the lingerie at the gas station and the secret trunk all belong to James. My question is, where did he get that little lacy number? It's cute. Not on him. There is no mystery lady. James, the dominant, controlling plastic surgeon, is a cross-dresser. Talk about a not-so-sweet transvestite. Cross-dressing comes from the man's desire to explore his feminine side, and for many guys, it's an outlet for stress. The more tension at work or home, the more they want to dress up. With his marriage on the rocks, his addiction, and the stress of keeping his cross-dressing a secret, well, James was probably one big hot mess. But big panties alone don't prove that he killed his wife. The police need more evidence to make a murder charge stick.
So tell me, have you ever seen this guy before?
Yeah, man. That dude was a real jerk.
Turns out, on the same day Julia's body was found, James went to the gas station to get his car detailed.
He was, mucho particular with his trunk being spotless.
I'll bet he was. And I'll bet he didn't tip either. But Mick just nailed the last piece into place. The evidence against James is coming together. The fibers on Julia's body match the pillow at the house that's got her blood on it. She was wrapped in the exact same towel found in the house. Serafina's statement sets up James' threatening behavior, and Mick puts James at the gas station with his car the day of Julia's disappearance. And I'll bet, just a bet, when they examine the car trunk, they're gonna find more evidence. Now, if the police can get James to confess, they can tie this case up with a nice big bow.
Hello, it's been an hour. What's going on?
Finally. Thank you. Though I would have preferred a sparkling water.
Oh, would you? James, it's time for you to stop yammering and listen up for a change.
Detective Falco lays out all the evidence they have tying James to Julia's death.
We swept the trunk. There are traces of Julia's hair and blood all over it. We got you dead to rights, man. Anything to say?
Fine. Yes, I did it. But it was in self-defense. Now, how did he come up with that one? Well, I'll bet James likes to watch cop dramas when he's not doing tummy tucks and facelifts. My money's on Cagney and Lacey. No, Miami Vice. That show was awesome.
What about the lingerie? What about the wig?
Leave this alone.
Tell me, James.
Leave it alone.
James admits he and Julia were arguing like they always did, but then she got ugly.
I know what you are. Don't deny it. How could you? What if people find out? We'll be laughingstocks.
Julia, please, I beg you. Julia's reaction to James' big secret is not unusual. This was the early 80s, after all, and people were a little bit less accepting about men dressing like women. James' shame at being found out and being rejected by his wife must have been too much for this control freak to bear.
I won't let you ruin my life.
In fear of his life, James says he acted out of instinct. He claimed that after he killed Julia, he put her in the car and tried to bury the body at a friend's country house. But that didn't work out, so he parked the car for the weekend before he finally found a dumpster.
She just didn't understand. She was so small town. I had to destroy my best bra and panty set because of her. Can I please get that sparkling water? James has spilled his big Lacey secret, but so far they've only got his side of the story. Unless Julia can speak up from the grave.
Hi, Detective.
But evidence from an unexpected source threatens to blow that claim out of the water.
Where did you get this?
It's from Julia.
Julia sent a letter to her boss the day before her death.
Turns out, Julia was planning to use the evidence of James' cross-dressing to blackmail him. Apparently, she'd known about his fancy for women's lingerie for a while. She was threatening to blow his cover if he didn't give her a divorce, alimony, and full custody of their child. Blackmail is a really strong motive for murder. His professional reputation was on the line. He was terrified of losing everything: his career, his money, the life he built. And given his control issues, violent behavior, and the deep shame he felt about his cross-dressing fetish, Julia was playing with fire.
With the help of the letter, police pieced together what likely happened that night.
No, don't go in there. Julia!
Julia finally had enough of James's paranoia and abuse and decided to fight back.
Blushing bride, French maid, oh, my favorite, the naughty nurse.
Do not touch those.
Be my guest. I've got copies. I want a divorce. And if you try to take Izzy away from me, I will not hesitate to use them in court.
You think you can threaten me?
Julia is counting on James giving in to her threat, but instead, he snaps.
I do not lose. Don't you forget it.
Upon further analysis, the medical examiner rules that James's wounds were self-inflicted with nail clippers.
James tried to make it look like Julia attacked him, but good old-fashioned detective work and science got the better of him. Even though DNA wasn't around as a technique in '84, forensics did the job of tying him to the crime. And James' self-defense claim is shut down. Wonder if he's got a special prison ensemble in his wardrobe. An orange, maybe?
James is charged with second-degree murder. But on the way to his first court appearance, James collapses. He's rushed to hospital, where he dies.
Turns out that James had terminal cancer, and he knew his days were numbered. He was so terrified of losing his status as the rich, successful surgeon that he was willing to do whatever it took to keep it, including murder. But in the end, he wasn't even around to care. He didn't go through a public trial that exposed his cross-dressing secret. So he got to keep his precious reputation and get out of serving hard time for killing Julia. It's kind of the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. Jeez, the lengths some people will go to.
The events in this program are based on a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Coming up on Bizarre Murders. When an innocent church scavenger hunt unexpectedly leads to a dead body, all signs point to foul play. To catch the killer, detectives will enter into a world of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And this hunt is far from fun and games. Seattle, Washington, 2006. A seemingly quiet Halloween night, Detective Tyler Booker is enjoying a quiet patrol. He's reminiscing about his first case just weeks before, an open and shut homicide by a jealous husband. He's curious if every case will be so easy to solve. Perhaps it's a cruel irony that he then spots a man's leg sticking out from behind a dumpster near the local church. Detective Booker discovers what could be a discarded Halloween decoration of a dead body. But becoming suspicious, Booker checks the body for a pulse, only to realize to his horror that it's an authentic corpse.
It probably doesn't surprise anyone that bodies are found on Halloween, and there's hardly a tougher time to investigate because you've got kids from wall to wall. They've all got masks on, good and bad, and really, it's a recipe for disaster.
Detective Booker discovers an alarming clue placed conveniently over the body. Written on a poster board are the words, "Yes, Matthew is dead, but his body not felt." Those brains were not Matt's because his body did melt. For Billy threw Matthew in some hot boiling oil to confuse the police. For the mystery, they did toil. He quickly calls for backup.
This is Agent Booker. I got 1144. Requesting backup, over.
When you arrive at a crime scene where there's a body, you have to determine whether this person who is dead because they killed themselves or they accidentally overdosed. Because if that's the case, you can go home and let the coroner take over. But if he was killed by somebody else, that means there's a murderer out there.
Police begin a search of the immediate area, scouring the church grounds for any more clues or accidental evidence the killer may have left behind. What they find are more and more riddles. The next one, found under the mat of the church door, reads, "A quick search inside to find the source of sin, and then near the cemetery to find its victim again." Deciphering the riddle to mean another murder victim could be found in the cemetery or possibly the church's sanctuary, the detectives split up, beginning a wild goose chase for another body.
30 years of movies and TV have inadvertently created a new kind of narcissistic criminal mastermind. The detectives who investigate these kind of crimes tend to lump them into two categories. The first is the eye roll, because these people are never as smart as they think they are. But the second one is the chill down the spine, because if these people think they got away with it the first time, there's going to be a second time.
Police find nothing inside the church, but Detective Booker returns with another riddle from the cemetery. The last clue to end your search: find the altar where Noah's dove would perch. It's an odd clue, and one that leaves everyone of the police force absolutely baffled.
The next thing they've got to do is identify the body, because if the detectives can't make heads or tails of this nice little riddle the killer left, then all they've got is the information Mr. Happy behind the dumpster is going to give them. But they've got to work fast, because there's a sick killer out there.
Checking the victim's wallet leads to an identification. The ID belongs to Kurt Flair, a local drug addict and petty theft known to many of the officers at the scene due to prior arrests. But the ID also leaves another clue. The fact that it's there means his killer never had any intention of hiding the identity of his victim. This and the riddles left behind could mean every detective's worst nightmare. It's a random killing. Now they have to hope the toxicology report will come back with new evidence that can help point them in the right direction. In the meantime, Detective Booker takes the riddles in for DNA testing, but the case hits another speed bump when they can't find a matching fingerprint in their database.
The good news is, if this is his first murder, or even his first crime, he's probably not very good at it. And you know how he's learning how to do it? From TV and movies. And cops watch TV and movies too.
Detective Booker's new job just got a whole lot tougher, as he is left to notify Kurt's mother, Karen, of his passing and question her. Karen Flair, sporting a rap sheet that includes prostitution and drug abuse, is no stranger to the Seattle Police Department. And when Booker finds her, she's right in the middle of a bender. The news of Kurt's death barely affects her at all. She says the last time she and Kurt spoke, he had just gotten out of rehab and was swearing he would remain sober. Booker asked her for a list of people who might want to see Kurt dead, but she can't come up with any names.
Consider the world of drug users. They run the gamut from multiple murderers to junkies who wouldn't hurt a fly. And they all have two things in common. Number one, they've seen everything, done everything, been around the block. And number two, none of them will talk to the police.
Coming up short, he turns to the autopsy report to find that Kurt's cause of death was at the hands of a drug called a speedball, an often lethal mix of heroin and cocaine. Across town, police find a solid lead in a drug dealer, Ace Horowitz, who was often seen running in the same circles as Kurt. They quickly bring him in for questioning.
One great thing about drug dealers is if you threaten to charge them with a crime, like accessory to murder, they become very helpful.
According to Ace, Kurt seemingly found religion and sought Ace out to convert him to the faith and save him from his sinful ways. But when Ace wouldn't accept Kurt's help, the two argued and were never to be seen together again. Not having any hard evidence to keep Ace in their custody, he is released. But something about his story strikes Booker as odd. He realized that he never told Ace that Kurt's body was found near a church. But still, Ace told them that Kurt had recently converted to Christianity. Booker quickly realizes his mistake and rallies a group to round him up again. They approach Ace's dilapidated apartment and knocked on the door.
Ace, open up!
Only to find nobody is home. Having probable cause, they quickly burst inside, only to find his apartment empty. A series of riddles hangs above a murder site at a church on Halloween night. When the mother of the deceased claims she hasn't seen her son Kurt in months, police shake down local drug dealer Ace Horowitz. But bad turns to worse when Ace disappears. As officers continue to search for Ace, Detective Booker returns to the scene of the crime one last time to search for more clues. But when he arrives, he finds a group of gawking teenagers waiting outside the crime scene tape, eager to learn what has taken place recently. Showing a little bit of a facial tic, the leader of the group introduces himself as Jeff Torringson, the son of the church's preacher, Pastor Torringson. Thinking that it's possible the kids could know something, Booker explains that the body of Kurt Flair was found on the church grounds 2 nights prior, and that they are still looking for any leads that could help them find his killer. Jeff tells Detective Booker that Kurt was a part of their youth group, and that he had not been answering their calls to attend a Christian rock concert with the band Praise. Upon further questioning, Kurt's standing as a newly devoted Jesus freak becomes all the more apparent as Jeff and his friends rattle on about Kurt's persistence in attending every youth group function the church offered. Jeff even claims that Kurt had expressed interest in attending seminary school, and his father, Pastor Torringson, had promised to pay for it. Booker is stunned to discover that some of Ace Horowitz's story is true, which makes his evading of police all the more suspicious.
Now police don't know what to think because the revelation that Kurt was an active church member corroborates Ace's story, and it also explains why Kurt wouldn't be living with his mother, but police still don't know why he left.
To bypass another rant about church camp activities and trivial kumbaya-esque mantras of faith, Detective Booker asks to speak with Jeff's father before he himself is accidentally converted to Christianity.
Thank you guys again. We really appreciate it.
Detective Booker questions Pastor Torringson on Kurt's history with the church and finds a colorful redemption story. Coming from an unsteady home, Kurt drifted from drug fix to drug fix before a series of stints in rehab finally set him straight. Kurt soon found his way to Paul's congregation, became a born-again Christian, and just recently celebrated 9 months of sobriety from both heroin and alcohol. He was welcomed to the church family by most of the parish and even developed a close bond with Paul himself. When Kurt told the pastor about his tumultuous living situation, the preacher let him stay at the church for as long as he needed.
Religious conversions of drug addicts, we hear it every day, and sometimes we're skeptical about them, but this one seemed real. So if that's true and Kurt was clean, why is he laying dead from a speedball overdose? And why is Ace Horowitz in the wind?
After Paul's voluntary interview, Booker informs him of the clues the alleged killer left behind all over the crime scene. But when Booker shows him the riddles, the pastor suddenly turns pale.
There's nothing wrong.
Pastor Torringson explains that he was the one who wrote the riddles, but never intended for them to appear at the scene of a murder.
Now this is a monkey wrench that changes everything.
Paul says that he made the riddles that morning for a Halloween scavenger hunt for the youth group, but because of the holiday, there was a lower turnout than he expected, and the scavenger hunt was to be postponed until the next weekend. He just forgot to take the clues down.
And just like that, all their theories get tossed out of the window. These aren't a series of murderous riddles. These are biblical illusions. There's no genius killer out there. I mean, is there a killer at all? I mean, this could simply be a suicide.
But Detective Booker still has questions to his dissolving mystery that continue to push his investigation in the direction of homicide. He wonders aloud to his partner, if it was a suicide that Ace Horowitz wasn't involved with, why was he running? And since when does a drug addict relapse into a drug as hard as speedball?
Drug use is tricky at best, and seasoned addicts know that if you're going to relapse, you shouldn't dive in too hard and heavy because you might die. Kurt Flair had been a drug user the bulk of his life, so he should have known better, and police wondered, was this overdose accidental?
Then, 2 more clues fall into Detective Booker's lap. After another scan of the murder scene, police find a small baggie with drug residue in the bushes nearby where Kurt's body was found. On the bag is a fingerprint that detectives hope will finally point to a killer. Pastor Torrington also tells police that the day of the scavenger hunt, a small amount of money went missing from the church. Detectives now have a new possible theory. Did Kurt Flair rob the church in order to purchase drugs? And if so, did he purchase them from Ace Horowitz? Police quickly send the drug baggie over to discover just who the mystery fingerprint belongs to. On Halloween, Detective Tyler Booker discovers the body of an ex-drug addict, Kurt Flair, behind a church dumpster. Fortunately, the clues police believed were left by the killer were actually meant for the church's scavenger hunt. Now, Booker's last lead is a mysterious fingerprint left on a drug bag. Police finally corner Ace at a local hangout and bring him in. But as Ace is waiting to be charged, another twist is thrown into the case. The fingerprints on the baggie don't belong to Ace Horowitz. In fact, the prints don't belong to anyone in the database at all.
Okay, picture this. Every cop in the department is figuring the last pieces of the puzzle are fitting in, and this drug dealer is going down. And now it's been several days since they've had a lead of any kind, and this guy, this drug dealer, he might not even be responsible?
But Detective Booker still has one last Hail Mary play up his sleeve. Police know that Ace was selling drugs the week of Kurt's death, and now they know that money went missing from the church the day Kurt died. They assume that somebody from the church purchased the drugs, and they also assume that they purchased those drugs from Ace because of his previous connection with Kurt. Ace knows that he's not getting out of this without some sort of penalty. He begins asking for immunity to being an accessory for murder.
You're gonna have to give me something good.
The detectives bite, convincing him to give his story a new coat of paint. Ace admits to selling drugs the morning of Kurt's death, but he claims he never sold anything to Kurt and hadn't since Kurt converted to Christianity. When asked by detectives why he ran away from police, Ace explained that the only alibi he had the night of Kurt's death was that he paid Kurt's mother, Karen, for sex and was otherwise occupied.
You want to know the truth?
Yes.
I was banging his mom.
Now police are feeling kind of foolish because not only is this guy not the Riddler that they thought he was, when police looked into Ace's alibi, it checked out because he was sleeping with Kurt's mom.
Detectives quickly track down Karen and confirm his alibi, leading them to their next question. Who did you sell drugs to on the morning of Kurt's death? Ace runs through a mental list of his clientele, but every name he gives Booker appears in the police database and isn't a match for the fingerprint on the drug baggie found at the crime scene. Booker presses harder. Finally, Ace recalls a client that day, someone who seemed as though they were a first-time buyer. Ace claims he never got a name from this mystery client, but describes him as an older, short, nerdy teenager with a slight facial tic. Detective Booker is quick to put a name to a face. Jeff Torrington, the pastor's son. Police quickly race over to the church. Booker arrests Jeff Torrington on the charge of homicide. In processing, detectives are able to score a match of Jeff's fingerprints on the drug baggie found at the scene of the crime.
Now things are starting to fit into place. They know who the fingerprints belong to, they've got somebody connected to both Kurt and Ace, and they've got the crime scene. But you can have all the evidence in the world, but you still need motive, and they don't got it.
Jeff admits to purchasing the drugs from Horowitz, but claims he never intended for Kurt to overdose. He says that in recent meetings, he had considered Kurt to become more withdrawn and quiet. He was worried he was on the verge of a relapse. Having learned from his father how to deal and treat drug addicts, Jeff claims he meant to buy a small dosage, not a sandbag, so that Kurt could get an easy fix without fully relapsing.
The idea is not totally unheard of, but there's something not adding up. And police can't help but think that Jeff's being a little disingenuous.
Police press harder, grilling Jeff for hours. If he was only trying to help, why did he steal money from the church instead of paying for the drugs himself? Why did he leave Kurt behind the dumpster under the clues to be discovered by just anyone? With all their leads spent, Detective Booker finally thinks he makes the right connection for motive. And he hits Jeff hard with it. Detective Booker continues to press for information that it was the pastor's son, Jeff Torrenson, who made the drug purchase. But in Jeff's interrogation, he claims he just wanted to help ease him through a relapse. But Detective Booker isn't buying it. Booker remembers the one thing that could function as a motive. Jeff's father was planning on paying for Kurt's seminary school. Booker rails on Jeff, pushing him until he finally breaks and admits that he murdered Kurt because he felt as though he was being replaced as his father's only son. The morning of Kurt's murder, Jeff stole money from the church, purchased the speedball from Ace, and then blackmailed Kurt by saying that if he didn't take all the drugs, he would tell everyone that it was Kurt who stole the money.
Take it.
At the church, Jeff points his dad's gun at Kurt and forces him to inhale the speedball. When Kurt overdosed, Jeff moved the body behind the dumpster under his father's scavenger hunt clue, left to make an alibi for himself, and planned to return the following morning to discover Kurt dead and report it to police. With his confession, Jeff Torrenson was charged with first-degree murder and charged with 25 years to life in prison.
Jeff fell victim to a number of deadly sins: wrath, pride, but mainly envy. He was jealous of his father's relationship with Kurt. And in the end, he's going to find out that it's difficult serving God while you're also serving life without parole.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders.
That'll be $3, please.
A young woman dreams of a fairy tale life.
Baby.
And does everything in her power to conceive it. But when a grisly discovery is made in her gelato shop, her dreams of happily ever after
Get out! Jesus.
are shattered forever.
Can you take me to the border?
Brooklyn, New York, 2000. Vera is an ambitious young woman who works full-time at a daycare
Hi, how are you?
and part-time at an old-fashioned ice cream shop, satisfying both her love for children and ice cream.
Sure.
She dreams of falling in love with a handsome prince, building that white picket fence, and having lots of babies.
That'll be $3, please. You're so lucky. Thank you.
Scott is a regular patron of the ice cream parlor.
On the house.
Thank you.
He's an entrepreneur who's launching his own e-zine, and he has a soft spot for Vera. He drops by every day after dinner, or his regular double scoop of mint chocolate chip on a sugar cone.
You look really nice.
Thank you.
Scott sweet talks Vera.
I brought you something.
You did?
Showering her with gifts and compliments.
God! Oh, they're beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Scott visits Vera every day.
I can't imagine my life without you.
Until just 1 month after they meet.
Will you marry me?
Yes.
Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of different folks. And what I've found out is that when people are so focused on some idyllic fairy tale life, they tend to overlook a lot of things like A, do they really know each other? And B, do they really know each other? I mean, these two young bucks are so in love with the idea of being in love. They have no problems getting hitched a mere month after meeting. So I'm asking you, is this a match made in heaven or a recipe for disaster?
Soon after their wedding, Vera and Scott focus on having a family. But after months of trying, they're still not pregnant. Vera has been vegetarian for years, but in an attempt to eat healthier and improve her chances of conceiving, she decides to make the final leap and become vegan.
For those of you not in the know, vegan basically means no animal products, which also means no dairy. This could prove problematic for a woman who serves ice cream for a living, kind of like an alcoholic working in a liquor store. What could go wrong?
Her newfound veganism means Vera can no longer indulge in her favorite pick-me-up.
Hey.
Hi.
In an attempt to cheer her up, Scott plies her with presents.
Chocolate.
Scott. Chocolate has dairy in it.
It's Sleuth.
But Scott is determined to be Vera's knight in shining armor.
Hey.
And presents her with a brilliant business plan. Scott tells Vera that he'll forego his e-zine venture.
What?
And instead use his money to set up a gelato shop.
I love the name.
He'll run the business, and she can make the gelato.
What do you say?
Yes.
Yeah?
You are the best.
At first, their partnership works like a charm.
Hi.
Business is booming.
What can I get for you?
And Vera pours everything she has into the gelato shop.
Thank you. Baby.
Should we close the shop early?
I think we should.
But after months of living and working together, their true colors come out.
Do you have to chew so loud?
Do you have to read so loud?
It was only a matter of time before these two really got to know each other. And the problem with marrying somebody a month after you meet them is eventually their mask falls to the ground and you're left with, well, the person you married. And you know what they say, happy wife, happy life.
Scott soon tires of Vera's obsessive vegan lifestyle.
Seriously, Scott?
And loses interest in both Vera and her business. Scott's disdain for Vera's lifestyle ups the tension in their marriage.
Scott?
And in the bedroom.
Are you in there?
Go away.
Despite the fact that Vera obviously can't stand Scott anymore, he's her ticket to motherhood and she's not giving up on her future children without a fight.
Oh, are you such a child?
Well, I know you are, but what am I?
When people really want something like a baby, it can cause them to do all sorts of things they normally wouldn't. But my advice for Vera in this situation is cut your losses.
I want a divorce, Scott.
Me too.
In the divorce settlement, Vera agrees to buy the business from Scott, and he agrees to move on to greener pastures.
Seems fair.
A quickie marriage that ends in a quickie divorce. This is my surprise face. Easy come, easy go, as they say. It seems that neither one of them are particularly upset that it didn't work out. They're young, they're attractive, there's a bunch more fish in the sea. Or flavors in the gelato shop, or, well, you get the picture.
With Scott out of the picture, Vera spends her time creating new vegan flavors for her shop. Until neighbors complain about the noise.
I'm so sorry about the noise. It's just my new mixer. I've been working on this flavor all night long. I'm really sorry. How about I offer you some gelato on the house?
Who can refuse that kind of apology, especially when it's accompanied by free gelato?
Thank you.
Kind of makes you wonder what's behind all that sugar and sweetness. And I'm not talking about the gelato.
Over the next few weeks, Vera actively searches online dating websites for the father of her future kids. When suddenly, a new customer walks in the door.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm sorry. Don't I know you from the news the other day?
Oh yeah, probably. I'm Justin.
Vera.
Nice to meet you, Vera.
Nice to meet you. What can I get you?
What do you recommend?
Well?
Justin is a vegan activist and a local celebrity in the movement against meat cause.
Pomegranate kale.
I love kale.
Vera is immediately smitten.
On the house.
I like this house.
Vera sets her sights on Justin pretty soon after her divorce. From a psychological perspective, that can tell us a lot about her personality. Insecure? Looking for validation? Unable to be alone? Heck, I just check all of the above.
Thanks.
Vera and Justin start dating as they bond over their shared vegan values.
Perfect.
And it doesn't take long before Vera invites Justin to move in.
Babe, it's perfect. I love it. I think this is the one we should print. You know, we can give out dozens to people during the marches and stuff. It's really good to have a partner on my quest. You know, to save the world from maniacal meat eaters.
It's important work. I'm glad we can do it together.
So you would think a girl like Vera might have learned a thing or two about diving headfirst into a relationship. But no. See, while she's still looking for her Prince Charming, what she really wants is a baby, which is why she refuses to take the blinders off. But the problem with tunnel vision is you can't see the curveballs coming.
The passion for their united cause spills over into the bedroom.
I love you.
You too.
What do you think about us having a baby?
Babe, my priority right now is the movement. A kid is the last thing I need.
This is exactly what I meant about curveballs. Vera just assumed that having a baby was at the top of the priority list for Justin. She never considered something like asking him if he wanted a baby before they moved in together. The danger in making assumptions is that 9 out of 10 times you're going to be wrong. That leads to disappointment, and inevitably, the gloves come off.
When Justin tells Vera he doesn't want a baby, her dreams of having a family are dashed.
Babe, hurry up. I have a protest this morning.
Okay.
But a desperate Vera refuses to take no for an answer and decides to take matters into her own hands. But the plumbing system is less than reliable in Vera's old apartment.
Babe, come here.
And Justin easily discovers her plan.
Is that your birth control?
Yeah.
This is totally deceptive and unethical.
Deceptive? All I wanted was a family. You promised me a family.
No, I didn't. You're delusional.
Justin!
Angry at Vera for trying to trick him into fatherhood, Justin puts the brakes on their sex life.
That just wasn't cool, babe. No. We need to focus on our emotional connection, not the physical.
After weeks of abstaining from sex, Justin's still not interested. Vera starts to get suspicious. Her worst fears are confirmed when she discovers he's been sexting with another woman.
What's this?
Babe, it's just an old friend.
Just an old friend? All I wanted was a baby. Why can't you give that to me?
What we have here is a classic case of disconnect between the fairy tale of the white picket fence and the reality, which is most guys don't want to have a baby with someone they've only known for 3 weeks.
Get out!
Jesus. Probably not a lesson most people need to learn, but Vera is on a mission, and in her mind, the clock is ticking.
But the next day, it appears all is forgiven.
Thanks.
I trust your opinion.
Vera even asks Justin to sample a new flavor of gelato, pumpkin flaxseed folly.
Very good.
Good.
Thanks, babe.
After devouring the entire bowl of gelato, Justin suddenly becomes ill.
Babe, are you all right?
I don't feel good.
Unbeknownst to Justin, the newest flavor of gelato has been laced with arsenic.
You shouldn't have lied to me.
I didn't lie. Please. Help.
Justin dies a slow and painful death on the gelato shop floor.
So Vera definitely has an interesting problem-solving style. Women tend to favor poison as their weapon of choice because it's less messy and doesn't require strength to overcome their victim. But the motive behind this murder is unique. Vera poisons her boyfriend because he didn't want a baby and then refused to have sex with her. Very Henry VIII. I'd say Vera's displaying classic narcissistic tendencies with a dash of hypocrisy thrown in. See, she goes out of her way to save the animals of the world, but when it comes to killing another human being, she goes from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat.
After serving Justin his last taste of gelato, Vera proceeds to chop him into pieces.
You may not know this, and why should you, but cutting through a human body is akin to using a butter knife to split wood. It takes an incredible amount of strength. Vera's probably, 110 pounds soaking wet, but she was likely pumped up by adrenaline, which explains how she could dismember Justin limb by limb. The fact that she was so methodical and unfazed by the whole deal suggests she can disassociate from reality just a little too easily. And that's not good news for Vera's future boyfriends.
2 days after killing and disposing of Justin, Vera files a missing persons report.
When was the last time you saw your boyfriend?
It was a couple of days ago. We got in a fight, and he stormed out. I thought he'd be back by now. Or maybe he's left me for good.
I doubt that.
Vera charms the detective, playing the part of jilted lover to perfection.
Can I offer you one of our lemony lime tofu torpedoes? It's a house specialty.
Sure.
Okay.
Always open to new experiences.
Just before the detective leaves, Vera makes him one last offer.
Sure you don't want to check in the basement for bodies or anything?
I'll see ya.
Bye, detective.
The fact that Vera can joke about looking for bodies in the basement without batting an eye shows she's brazen. She's practically daring the cop to call her bluff. She's playing with him. People like that are even more dangerous because it means they have a blatant disregard for authority and no fear of consequences, which translates to, watch your back, guys.
With Justin out of the picture permanently, Vera goes back to the drawing board, looking for yet another Prince Charming. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Vera, a week after Justin has his last taste of gelato, a maintenance man has been called in to do work on her building.
Big surprise, those little air fresheners won't actually conceal the smell of a dead body. Think rotting meat mixed with a dirty diaper left out in the hot sun for a week. Believe me, even after 25 years in the Bureau, it's not a scent that I ever got used to it, and I can still smell it if I think about it.
When Detective Nelson arrives,
What the?
he makes a grisly discovery.
Not one, but two mutilated bodies buried in pumpkin flaxseed gelato. We know she poisoned and chopped up her activist boyfriend, but who else did Vera have it in for?
Will you marry me?
Yes.
Vera and Scott got married only a month after meeting each other. They soon opened a vegan gelato shop together, and their love flourished. But Scott soon got bored of the business and his wife,
Scott.
and refused to give her the one thing she wanted in life.
Go away.
A child. After divorcing Scott, he refuses to move out. So Vera, determined to find the man of her dreams, goes full steam ahead.
What, you think you're gonna impress some loser wearing that?
She begins to date, while Scott hammers non-stop at her self-esteem.
Nothing but a cheap slut. No one is ever gonna want to have a baby with you. You'll be alone forever. Your stupid little store that doesn't make any money because it doesn't want to sell actual ice cream because you're an idiot.
As Scott dodges Vera, he hits his head on the corner of the fireplace.
Scott.
Whoops. Vera's impulsive side got the better of her there, and yep, even though her intention wasn't to kill him, it's through her actions that he died. And in the eyes of the law, that's murder. It looks like this split-second decision might have been what kick-started Vera's killing career.
At first, Vera is horrified, but soon realizes Scott is finally gone from her life, for good. But the next morning, Vera's faced with a formidable task: how to get rid of the body.
If you ask me, killing your ex-husband and chopping up his body without shedding a tear is a textbook definition of a sociopath, which basically means she's completely devoid of empathy. In Vera's mind, she's got to cover up the fact that she's killed Scott, even if it was by accident. Most of us at this point would call the police and confess our sins, but not Fantastic Vera.
The bodies are identified as her ex-husband and boyfriend, who she reported missing a week ago. Detective Nelson issues a warrant for Vera's arrest for double murder.
Please, open up.
At this point, you might think Vera is going to wave the white flag. I mean, she's wanted for double homicide and the police are at her door. But a woman like Vera doesn't give up that easily. This wasn't part of her happily ever after scheme. But if there's one skill Vera possesses, it's an ability to think on her feet so she can easily switch lanes.
After finding Vera's apartment empty, Detective Nelson issues an all-points bulletin for Vera's arrest.
Could you take me to the airport, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Vera flees, heading to the closest airport.
That's Vera the Vixen. She's known around town as the animal rights activist.
Can you just turn the radio off? I hate the news.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Suddenly, she changes her mind.
My flight's canceled. Can you take me to the border?
All right.
Vera's instincts are good. She's smart to avoid the airport because police will put a hold on a person's passport as soon as they've issued a warrant for the arrest. They're going to be searching not only Vera's home, but every other place she's ever stepped foot in. So hightailing it out of the country could work in her favor.
All right.
12 hours later,
Wakey, wakey, we're here.
an exhausted Vera arrives in Canada
That'll be $3,500.
and stiffs the cabbie.
Are you serious?
Sorry.
Come on. Are you?
And to ensure she looks nothing like her former self, Vera, forever the master manipulator, comes up with the best disguise ever.
Looks like all of Vera's dreams are finally coming true. But can she hold it all together, or will her former career as a killer gelato maker catch up with her?
It's been 6 months, and despite a nationwide hunt for the beautiful blonde, there have been no leads until...
Holy.
The taxi driver who drove Vera to Canada comes forward.
Detective Nelson.
He tells the detective that the woman wanted for double murder is hiding out north of the border.
Yeah, I dropped her off in Quebec. She said she couldn't pay. So I remember.
Free advice. It never pays to be cheap. Of all the men Vera charmed throughout the years, she overlooked the one man who could bring her down, her taxi driver.
With the cabbie's help, Detective Nelson tracks down Vera in Canada.
Just a minute.
So, we meet again.
So we do, Detective.
Looks like you've been busy. All right, turn around.
Scott was immature. I mean, he still lived with me after the divorce. And he pissed me off. So I took a swing at him, and he fell. Kind of made the rest easy.
Vera freely admits to killing both her ex-husband
Justin would have been good
and her former boyfriend, Justin,
if he wasn't a cheater.
and disposing of their bodies in the basement of her gelato shop.
Why would you do that to someone you love?
They didn't give me what I wanted.
What was that?
A baby.
Vera is a narcissist who likely suffers from manipulative behavior disorder, so when neither guy could give her what she wanted, they ended up 6 feet under. The scary part is this woman was perfectly sane and didn't suffer from psychotic delusions, which in layman's terms means she knew what she was doing.
Vera is convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole.
Hi, baby.
While in prison, she gives birth to a healthy baby girl, whom she names Buttercup.
You're gonna be so big and so strong.
Her dreams of being a mother
Just like your mama.
finally realized.
Time's up.
Please, just one more minute.
You know the rules.
I'll see you soon.
Not exactly the vision of motherhood Vera had in mind. Most people who can't have a baby either visit a fertility clinic or adopt. Instead, Vera took matters into her own hands, and when she didn't get what she wanted from her fellas, she chopped them up into little bitty pieces. Now she'll spend the rest of her life alone with no chance of getting that white picket fence. It just goes to show that killing people to get your fairy tale life doesn't pay off. And I guess that's the problem. When you build your dreams on a mountain of gelato, it eventually melts and you're left with nothing. It looks like Vera finally got her just desserts.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, when a beloved matriarch disappears without a trace.
Why would she leave her car here?
Her family thinks something terrible has happened. But when investigators find no evidence of foul play,
This could be the answer.
her brother turns to an unconventional source for help. Will the gift of second sight lead to a revelation or bitter disappointment? Francine, the head of a family-run maple syrup business, hasn't been seen in 24 hours. Her car has been found abandoned, but no sign of Francine. The last anyone heard, she was drinking and playing the slots at the Palais de Folie.
Off to the casino, huh? Oh, why would she leave her car here?
She'd probably had a few and called a boyfriend to pick her up before getting on the highway. It's happened before. I'll drive it back to my place. Merci, Inspector.
Francine and her family have been in the maple syrup business for generations. She's made a small fortune through hard work and keeping her people close. Her younger brother Antoine runs the day-to-day operations.
Let's see what the LaBeaus have to say about these numbers, huh?
And keeps the peace with local rivals and politicians.
Don't forget your syrup. Don't put it all on one set of pancakes, eh? Yes.
Robert, Francine's nephew, didn't quite inherit the family's knack for the business.
Merde!
And he can't afford to lose a drop of product. Despite his best efforts,
Tabarouette!
his sugar bush just isn't yielding enough sap to meet Francine's strict family quota.
Come on!
What was that, huh?
You can't even skate!
It's a raucous family, but Francine runs it like she runs her business.
So we put it on! Come on! That good, Toronto!
Why don't you set it to get me another range and so...
We.
There's no doubt about who's in charge.
Hurry up, Antoine!
Yeah, hurry up.
I'm coming!
It may look all joie de vivre, but you don't need to be a cop to know that every family has simmering tensions below the surface. You see, Francine is head of the family and boss of the family business. They all depend on her for their jobs. And Francine's a tough coach. You didn't bring in your syrup quota? Penalty. Get lippy or out of line? Benched. Maybe for good.
What are you doing now?
Oh, come on, man!
So everyone's just a little bit afraid of old Francine.
Francine works hard, but she plays just as hard. She's famous for having a good time. Her week-long benders are legendary. A blur of rye, men,
Any luck?
and money.
Inspector! Inspector!
Francine has now been gone for 3 days, and her brother Antoine thinks something's wrong.
You know Francine, huh? My sister...
The night her car was found, she was supposed to meet him for some poutine and business talk.
I wait there for hours, she not show up. I've been calling her for 3 days now. She no answer, nothing.
So, Antoine, so she may be out just having a good time and she forgot to call home. I mean, what makes you think something bad has happened to her?
You don't understand, Inspector. She calls always. She cannot make it for dinner. Let alone gone for 3 days. Not so much as hello, I'm safe.
Antoine, you know your sister. She has the reputation. She likes to party a lot.
We.
She doesn't come home sometimes. We all know that. Look, sooner or later, she'll come to her senses and she'll come home. Antoine, if I hear anything, I'll call you. All right?
So here we have a lady who really knows how to sin and who's gone MIA before. The thing is, if you're a grown-up, it isn't against the law to drop out of sight and get your family all worried. Most of the time, nothing has even gone down. When I was at the Bureau, we only designated maybe 15% of all missing persons cases as involuntary, as in kidnapped or killed. Sometimes people just want to get away from it all, and there's nothing you or the cops can do.
A week after Antoine reports his sister missing, a newspaper article grabs his attention.
Oh. This could be the answer.
A bank teller in Montreal named Alice recently led police to a missing child she'd seen on TV. She claims she can tune into someone's whereabouts if she sees a picture of them. But not everyone in Francine's family is as enthusiastic as Antoine.
Psychics are full of merde.
What do we have to lose, eh? She found that boy, we?
Antoine sends Alice a photograph of Francine, as well as some of her personal belongings. Using these items, Alice tunes into Francine.
How's it going?
She comes out of her trance with a cryptic message.
This is Alice. Do the letters CRK mean anything to you?
Alice, those are the letters on Francine's license plate. How did you know that?
I got a vision. I think I can help you find her. Have a good day.
Antoine is so impressed with Alice's vision, he buys her a bus ticket to Laurierville.
Alice.
Antoine.
Bonjour.
It's a pleasure.
As an investigator who deals in nothing but the facts, ma'am, I cringe, and I mean I really cringe when these people enter the picture. They're usually in it for the attention and the money. But even I have to admit that Alice doesn't seem like your typical psychic. First of all, she works at a bank, not a strip mall. No crystal balls, no flowing robes, no 1-800 number, and oh yeah, she doesn't charge for her services. Like I said, she's not your typical psychic. And if it gives you hope, why not? Just beware.
Having no luck when they went to where Francine's car was found, Alice's next stop is Robert's Sugar Shack.
Francine is leaving us a trail of clues. She's telling me to come here. We must follow the mystic breadcrumbs. Looking for a missing person. You're looking for a body. Francine's been brutally murdered.
It's an impressive performance, but it's not a surprise because that's what psychics do. They ham it up and explain away anything they're wrong about by saying their insights are open to interpretation. Alice could be making a calculated guess about what happened to Francine. It's what we call cold reading your audience, and it can be pretty convincing. But guesswork or not, the fact is, Francine's still missing and the family needs answers. And you gotta wonder, is Alice taking them all for a ride, a cruel ride, or could this psychic actually be on the right path?
With no evidence of foul play in Francine's disappearance, the police say their hands are tied. But armed with Alice's shocking psychic vision, Antoine tries once again to convince them to investigate.
Look, without any evidence, my hands are tied.
There may not be any hard evidence, but Alice's visions point to something bad happening.
I saw it clear as day, Inspector. Someone has blood on their hands.
Uh-huh. These are those magic visions, right? Okay.
It makes sense, Inspector. That explains why Francine never came home that night.
So does a few Ryan Gingers.
Maybe it was a competitor. You know, Francine has been feuding with that no-good idiot Leblanc over his price fixing.
Okay, I'll look into it. But, and no disrespect, lady, go easy on the hocus pocus.
I must go wherever my visions lead me, Inspector.
All right, let's hear about those visions.
We were in a sugar shack when I had the vision.
You can't really blame the cops in a situation like this. I mean, if we treated every hunch, opinion, whim, or especially a psychic vision as a credible lead, we'd be too busy following up on junk to catch anyone. It's Not that we don't feel for the family. We do. It's just that our job is to follow the evidence.
Ouais, c'est Boucher. Je veux confirmer que le blanc, là, il était-il au...
When Inspector Boucher looks into the alibi of Francine's rival LeBlanc, it checks out.
Chartrand, lui. OK. Non, c'est tout pour l'instant. Merci beaucoup.
He was at the local maple syrup festival.
Ah ouais, c'est beau. Ici.
Inspector Boucher then tries to track Francine's movements through her bank and phone records. He's stymied.
Now, Francine, où êtes-vous? Just sober up and come home already. Make my life easier.
Francine is so old-fashioned, she doesn't have a cell phone and always carries a lot of cash. And there's just no way to keep track of her whereabouts. The next day, determined to solve the mystery, Alice, Antoine, and Robert go back to his sugar shack.
I can feel her presence. Is this new?
I spilled some syrup the other day. I cleaned it up. It happens all the time.
Francine. She's here.
Robert's had enough of Alice and her visions and orders her back to Montreal. Alice reluctantly agrees. But before she leaves, she pays a visit to Antoine.
I did want to let you know. I feel like Robert knows more than he's letting on.
He has been acting weird ever since you got here. Like you spooked him when you were drawn to his sugar shack. You don't think Robert had anything to...
Just keep an eye on him.
Oui.
So Psychic Alice has been sent packing like a crystal ball rubbing busybody, and still no one knows if Francine's fallen victim to anything more serious than a bad hangover.
Robert.
But Antoine needs to believe that Alice's visions could actually reveal the truth about Francine. She's his only hope. But as they say, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
The police have uncovered no leads as to Francine's whereabouts, and the case is stalling. But Francine's brother Antoine refuses to give up. The police finally have to admit that she's been gone too long to simply be on a boozing binge.
You had to drop Le Puck into the game for real. Now, Inspector, something terrible has happened to Francine. I can feel it. Why would she just take off and let her business go down the tube, huh? Yeah, it don't make no sense.
Antoine fills the inspector in on Alice's suspicions about Robert and his own.
He hides out in his sugar shack, doing nothing. Doesn't even seem to care that Francine is missing. I'm telling you, Alice is right. Robert, he knows something.
100 miles away in Montreal, Alice continues to be tormented by the visions of violence.
Oui, hello?
To Alice's surprise, it's Inspector Boucher. He says the case has gone cold and he'll take any help he can get.
I'll be in Laurierville as soon as I can. You have to take me seriously.
Back in Laurierville, things immediately get heated between Alice and Robert.
Somebody important in your life.
What is she even doing here? Caliste Sacrament.
I had another vision. I think I know what happened to Francine.
What? Abduction by aliens? Bigfoot, peut-être? Maybe call Mulder a Scully.
You see, Inspector? He's acting très bizarre.
All right, look, if you want, I'll ask Robert to take a polygraph test. But you'll have to take one, too.
Ben oui.
Inspector, I think I know what happened to...
All in good time, madame.
roll your eyes if you want, but even if we think they're full of, merde, psychics can serve a purpose. They don't solve anything, but if they reassure the family, then they're a useful tool in the investigative toolbox. Why? They keep the family off your back.
As Antoine passes his test with flying colors, there's no sign of Robert.
Polygraphs are another tool in our arsenal. The purpose of a poly isn't just to detect if someone's lying, it's to point out inconsistencies in their story. If someone refuses to outright take one, it looks fishy, but if someone says they'll do it and then backs out, well, that's a huge red flag. And Robert is now on Boucher's radar.
Do you know where Robert is?
Monsieur Inspector, now may I show you what I saw? That is where you will find Francine's body.
That is the lightning tree. It's a few miles up the road. It was struck by lightning at 95.
Alice's drawing is of a place only locals would know about. Even Inspector Boucher has to admit that Alice's latest vision is worth checking out.
Alice hasn't quite won over the skeptical investigator, but she's got his attention. More importantly for Boucher, Robert's just shined a light on himself by blowing off a lie detector test. So Boucher comes up with a plan. If he plays Alice and Robert off against each other, maybe Robert will reveal what, if anything, he knows about Francine's disappearance.
You were supposed to be at the polygraph. You never showed up.
When the inspector questions Robert about why he skipped the polygraph...
I forgot. I'm sorry. Can I reschedule? I have things to do today, but perhaps later the week, tomorrow.
I'll tell you what. Why don't I drive you to the station right now?
But instead of going to police headquarters, Inspector Boucher drives Robert out of town and confronts him at the place Alice saw in her vision. The place where she says they'll find Francine.
Keep going.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? What is this?
Does this look familiar to you?
No. I have never seen this place.
Lies. Antoine, start digging.
No! Stop! Stop!
Whatever this place is, it has a dramatic effect on Robert. He breaks down and begs to be taken to police headquarters.
I have something to tell you.
Let's go.
Robert, back there you said you had something to say. So why don't you start talking?
I didn't mean to do anything. It just happened. I panicked. Merde.
Take your time, Robert.
Robert tells Inspector Boucher that he'd been stealing syrup from Francine for months and selling it on the black market.
Remember, maple syrup is liquid gold in this part of the world. Stealing it is kind of like tapping into a whiskey distillery in Scotland. It's a very big deal.
Selling to other people! You think I wouldn't notice your feisty foot? Tout est fini, fini! You'll never see another dime from me, cochon.
Look, you don't cross someone like Francine. Besides the money, she's gonna banish Robert from the family forever. She'll take everything from him and leave him alone in the gutter, a total disgrace. That'd make anyone snap.
Yeah! Oh no. Merde!
After killing Francine, Robert realized he had to come up with a believable story to explain her disappearance. With Francine's body hidden away, he drives her car to a spot where he knows the police will find it and places himself there to deflect suspicion.
Robert didn't intend to murder Francine. It's what we call an impulse kill. But those are not random. There's intense passion, a buildup of anger or jealousy that explodes when someone's reached their limit. And Robert had clearly reached his.
I thought you'd never suspect.
Robert thought he bought himself some time when the police assumed Francine was at the casino, where she spends most Friday nights.
But then, that witch shows up. I thought the license plate thing was just a coincidence, but then she saw my sugar shack.
Here.
Even though he assumed all psychics were scam artists, when Alice claimed she knew Francine had been murdered, Robert got scared that somehow she knew he killed her.
Oh! Maybe it was a competitor. You know, Francine has been feuding with that no-good idiot Leblanc.
He told Inspector Boucher to look into Francine's competitor as a desperate distraction. When Alice sensed where Robert had hidden Francine in the sugar shack, he panicked and moved the body before they could find it. Robert thought he outmaneuvered Alice, but he still couldn't shake the feeling she could see right through him. He started to crack, and the only solution was to get Alice out of the picture.
Psychic or no psychic, Robert still has one small problem. Eventually, the cops get wise to the casino story, and then, surprise, Alice is back in town and breathing down his neck. The truth is closing in on him from all sides.
I don't know how she knows these things. I don't care. Just keep her away from me.
Okay, Robert. You're under arrest. Stand up, please.
His plan was to take over Francine's sugar bush until it became clear Francine wouldn't be coming back. Eventually, she'd be declared legally dead, and he'd stand to inherit it and part of the family fortune.
I've heard a lot of confessions, but this one's in a class of its own. Most people fess up because they know you've got enough evidence to put them away, and they want to cop a plea deal. Robert, on the other hand, gives it up because he's scared witless, not of cops, but of a psychic. Oh, that's beautiful. Even Alice didn't see that one coming.
Francine's body is recovered near the lightning tree, exactly where Alice said it would be.
Am I going to win?
Oh, what a spectacular.
Alice goes back to Montreal, her first murder case wrapped up. She's on her way to a new career as a psychic detective. The word psychic is never mentioned in Inspector Boucher's report. She's simply referred to as a confidential informant. But her involvement helps put Robert away for 30 years.
How did she know? How did she know?
Not something you hear about every day, is it? A psychic tipping the scales in a murder investigation. Cops and clairvoyants, yeah, strange bedfellows. And don't get me wrong, we do not make a habit of reading tea leaves. But sometimes, just sometimes, you catch a break in a case that's so out of left field, you wonder if there's something more to police work than gathering hard evidence. I mean, we investigators follow our instincts all the time. Is that so different from what a psychic like Alice does? We sweat our suspects, and Alice certainly put a cold sweat on Robert. He just couldn't take it anymore. You might say he got tapped out. I can't explain how she did it. I deal with the law of the land, not the laws of the universe. But whether you're a believer or a skeptic, one thing's for sure, justice will catch up to you, one way or another.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders.
Roll camera. And action.
Blake and Eden play star-crossed lovers on the most popular soap opera on TV.
Patch, I'm sorry. He looked exactly like you.
Their legions of fans are obsessed with the on-screen couple and the passion of their relationship.
No! It has to end.
But when one of them ends up dead and thrown away like trash, detectives come knocking on the door of the small-screen melodrama,
I'm not coming out.
looking for answers. Los Angeles, California, 2013. On a warm summer morning, a former model turned actress takes her daily stroll to a local strip mall.
That is one swanky shoe.
When she makes a surprising discovery in the car park. Detective Byers is called to the site.
Do something about this. They don't deserve to live.
It's that actor chick.
He identifies the body as soap opera star Eden from The Liars and the Lustful.
Let's cut.
Eden's father, John,
Eden, honey.
is the director and creator of the most watched soap in the country.
Trixie's devastated. Patch has just stormed out the door, so we really need to amp up the emotion.
Okay, got it.
All right, let's go again. Roll camera. And action.
He's so young.
Detective Byers believes Eden was most likely bludgeoned to death by the trophy she won as part of the most famous soap opera couple ever to hit the small screen.
All right, everybody, step back.
Why would anybody do this?
When a celebrity is killed, it can be hard to keep the investigation under wraps.
Give us some space.
Give me some space.
As an investigator, knowledge is power, and holding back key points of the investigation from the media is a very strategic move. You see, that way, if someone gives up information only the killer would know, then bam, you've got yourself your prime suspect.
The first suspect on Detective Byers' radar is Eden's husband and agent, Ty.
So, Ty, how did you two meet?
On set. She's a client of mine.
He's taken her from unknown actress to soap opera star to worldwide brand.
Ever any fights?
No. I mean, you argue, but no big fights.
The spouse is always the first person investigators look at. Was he cheating? Was she cheating? Did he get jealous and decide to offer?
Ever get physical?
No.
It sounds like I'm recounting a soap opera plot, but believe me, this stuff happens all too often in real life.
She was my everything. We were a dynamic duo. I would never hurt her.
Ty tells the detective that on the night of the murder, he had dinner at Mr. Chow with two of his most famous clients.
Robert De Niro and Cleveland Eastwood, you know them?
Actor type?
Yeah.
Not only did other diners see him there, he was photographed by the paparazzi going into the restaurant.
The bad thing about being famous in Hollywood is that you can't go anywhere without being watched or followed. Just ask the Kardashians. The paparazzi can be a menace, but if you're an innocent man being questioned for the murder of your wife and they can provide you an alibi, maybe there is a use for the paps after all.
After confirming Ty's alibi, Detective Byers is searching for his new lead.
Detective Byers?
Yes, how can I help you?
When it literally walks through the door.
I have some information about Trixie's murder.
Really?
Blanche, who found Eden, tells the detective that she's an avid fan of the soap opera, The Liars and the Lustful.
For 20 years, I haven't missed a single episode. What are they going to do next season?
I don't know. I don't watch it.
I was so honored to be the one to have found her body. You know, my apartment is right across the street from there.
The day of the murder, she remembers seeing a car idled for a long time.
My antenna went up, and I knew something wasn't right.
It seemed suspicious enough for Blanche to write down the license plate number.
In the case of a celebrity death, everybody's got a theory, and rumors spread like a California wildfire. Usually, amateur detectives are a nuisance for cops, but in this case, an avid fan's keen eye just might turn this case around.
You know, we all need to pull together to find Trixie's killer.
Eden. Eden's killer.
Pardon?
Never mind.
A search of the license plates reveals that one of the cars belongs to Eden, and the other belongs to Blake, Eden's co-star, AKA Patch.
This kind of lucky break doesn't happen often in my line of work. Usually detectives just pound the pavement day after day, putting their case together. But sometimes, even the grittiest jobs are sprinkled with Hollywood stardust. So when it happens, you just look up and thank your lucky stars.
2 years ago, Blake was a struggling actor who worked as a stripper by night while auditioning during the day. A good Midwestern farm boy with more looks than talent, he came to Hollywood to fulfill his lifelong dream of winning an Oscar. But when he couldn't find work, he used the one thing he did have in his arsenal to pay the bills: his body. It's also where he met his wife, Cassie.
Why did you have him follow me?
Because I've learned something about you, Trixie. I've learned I can't trust you anymore.
Eventually, he gets his lucky break and lands a plum role on The Liars and the Lustful.
I can't live without you.
Patch, I love you.
He's cast as Patch, the tempestuous, impulsive lover of Eden's character, Trixie.
And I hate you.
Their drama-filled relationship soon thrust them into fame's bright spotlight, and fans can't get enough of their favorite couple.
Blake.
Detective Byers asks Blake to come down to the station for questioning.
For you, sir?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks.
More for my fans?
We have a little problem, Blake. Your car was seen in the parking lot where Eden was murdered.
That's absurd, Detective. I mean, there's no way that's even possible.
Blake insists the witness must be mistaken. He claims he stayed in all day with his wife.
Do you know there's a surveillance camera on the store, that parking lot? Sees your car, plain as day.
In cop parlance, this is called a bluff. You know your suspect is lying, but you have no proof. So you bend the truth a little bit just to see if you can force his hand. With a little luck and a half-decent performance, he'll crack.
Okay, yeah. I'll tell you what you want to know, but you're not gonna like it.
Try me.
Detective Byers beat Blake at his own game and tricked him into confessing. Now let's see if Blake will spin another tall tale or finally cop to the truth.
Why was your car there, Blake?
Under pressure from Detective Byers, Blake cracks.
Well, the only reason my car was there is because Eden asked me to come and meet her.
Patch, I'm sorry. He looked exactly like you. I love you.
Blake tells Detective Byers that he and Eden are friendly on set.
I know.
But according to Blake,
No, cut.
6 months into their torrid on-screen affair,
Terrific. Really doing great, but
Eden begins to fall for her co-star.
we need you to play harder to get, but make her work for it.
She flirts incessantly, hoping for a passionate relationship off-screen as well.
All right, good?
Yep.
All right, let's go again. And roll sound.
Blake denies her advances,
Thank you.
trying to concentrate solely on the work.
Blakey, we've got a few minutes before our next scene, so I was thinking that we could...
Eden, no, let's save our passion for the screen, okay?
You suck.
Eden.
Tired of being rejected, Eden refuses to return to the set.
I'm not coming out!
Come on, honey, come on out.
Go away!
They shut down filming for the day,
Blake,
but not before Blake is given a warning.
I need you to fix this. Production's counting on you.
Concerned he'll be fired, Blake reaches out to Eden. He doesn't want his first big break to be his last big break. And if Eden doesn't return to set, he fears it's his neck on the line.
Wish me luck, man.
Knowing how volatile Eden can be, Blake treads lightly.
I really want us to get along, Eden.
Really?
But Eden takes his peace offering
Eden.
as a come on.
No, I'm married.
So am I. What's that got to do with it?
Eden, our love exists. It's on screen through Patch and Trixie.
No. If I can't have you, no one will.
In a fit of rage, Eden attacks Blake.
No!
Trying to fend her off, he grabs the only thing in sight, his trophy, and slams it into Eden's head.
Oh my gosh. Eden! No! 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 I never meant to hurt her. I just panicked. Thank you. That's your story.
Yes.
Then how do you explain that?
Detective Byers tells Blake that the fingerprints on the trophy that bludgeoned Eden weren't his.
They're your wife's.
That's impossible. She would never do this.
Blake and Cassie marry shortly after meeting and get an unexpected wedding present.
And this is the kitchen?
When Blake lands the part of Patch on The Liars and the Lustful.
What do you think of this?
Oh, wow.
Not bad, eh?
This is so cool.
I know, right?
Cassie thinks they've hit the jackpot.
Oh my, who do we have here?
Until she meets Eden, his beautiful co-star.
Blake.
Oh, Blake, we've been expecting you.
Really? You've heard of me already?
Of course, you're my new lover.
Wow. That's a huge compliment. I mean, quite frankly, I just wanted to let you know that I am a huge fan of your work. No, I think you're an artist.
You're making me blush. You're gonna turn me all pink. Stop.
Cassie gets more and more jealous as Patch and Trixie's on-screen love affair grows.
What is this?
Babe, it's just a part. She means nothing to me. I mean it.
Shush!
But Cassie can't stop obsessing.
So let's backtrack a second. Cassie's prints were found on the murder weapon, and she's clearly green with envy over her husband's relationship with Eden. A jealous lover killing their rival is not just the makings of a good soap opera plot. It happens all the time in real life. I've seen the most reasonable people lose it because they think their loved one is cheating on them. The problem is, once they get the seed of doubt planted deep in their mind,
That is not nothing.
they can't get it out. And they obsess over it until it becomes so overwhelming that the only way to release the mounting pressure is to confront it. I'm sensing hints of fatal attraction. You know what I mean?
Have a seat.
Am I in trouble?
Looks like detectives are honing in on Blake's wife, Cassie. She can't deny her fingerprints were found on the murder weapon. But that doesn't mean that's the end of the story. It's my guess she's got a tale of her own to tell.
Funny thing is, the bloody fingerprints are yours.
It's not what you think.
Cassie cracks under the pressure.
Eden was in love with him.
She confirms Blake's claim that Eden was aggressively pursuing a relationship with him.
She kept making advances, and he kept saying, I'm married.
But that's where the similarities between Blake and Cassie's story ends.
Babe, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for tonight.
welcome.
Wine.
chocolate. You know, maybe we could do a little bit less with the chocolate. But...
I don't think we need less chocolate.
Anyway, babe, I actually got a new copy of the script, and
The day of the murder, Blake tells Cassie that Eden wants to meet with him to rehearse an upcoming scene.
Do you really think I'm that stupid?
Believing that Eden has finally got her claws into Blake,
I'm on to you.
No, Cassie cakes, come on.
Cassie accuses him of cheating on her.
Why would I want her when I have you? Babe, no, calm down. It's okay.
In an attempt to calm Cassie down, he invites her along to the rehearsal.
I'll show you. It's all very innocent. You'll see.
Cassie hides in the back seat of the car as Blake meets with Eden
Hi, Blakey Doodle.
and soon gets proof her suspicions were right.
I guess we won't be needing this.
Eden, no, I'm married. Our love exists. It's just on screen through Patch and Trixie.
No. If I can't have you, no one will.
Worried Eden is about to kill her husband, Cassie comes to Blake's defense and grabs the closest thing to her.
Cassie, what have you done?
Cassie insists that she hit Eden in self-defense.
I mean, she was gonna kill him. What was I supposed to do? You should have seen the look in her eyes.
She tells Detective Byers that Blake confessed to protect her, but he had nothing to do with it.
Really?
Looking for the truth, Detective Byers sets out to talk to the cast and crew of The Liars and the Lustful.
Detective Byers.
John, sorry about your loss.
Thank you.
He quickly discovers that Blake's story about Eden's obsession is a little more fiction than fact.
Eden loved her husband. They were a match made in heaven.
As the detective delves deeper into the soap opera world, he learns that Blake is known as a method actor.
He took his craft very seriously.
For those of you who aren't in the know, the method is a style of acting where the actor totally immerses himself in the role and tries to truly experience the emotions of their character.
He wanted us to call him Patch even when the cameras weren't rolling.
Seriously?
It all sounds a little complicated to me, but hey, I'm not an actor, so I'm gonna leave it to the pros.
No! It has to end.
Tracy.
Go.
On the day of Eden's murder, John surprises the cast by writing Blake out of the show.
Cut! That's a wrap.
He feels a dramatic breakup scene is exactly what their ratings need.
John.
Yes.
Blake begs John to reconsider the breakup of Trixie and Patch,
I have so much more story to tell.
but John refuses.
There's not a chance, Blake. It's for the best. Really good work.
Hey, Eden, I need you to talk to your father.
Blake, I'm sorry. Once my dad's made up his mind, there's no changing it.
The desperation of a person trying to get what they want can drive them to do unspeakable things. And Blake is one desperate dude, but this is taking things to the extreme. He's sunk so far into his role that he's unable to distinguish what is real and what isn't. There's a different word for that in my line of work. It's called delusional.
Hey, I need to talk to you in person.
Hey, buddy.
It can't end like this.
Are you okay?
Can you meet me somewhere?
Yeah, sure. Just let me know where.
Okay. Okay, thanks, hon.
So this flies in the face of what both Blake and Cassie told Detective Byers. If Blake arranged for the meeting, not Eden, then that puts things in a totally different light. It speaks to intent and it speaks to premeditation. Did Blake have it in his mind to make Eden pay because he was being cut from the show? Was he gonna threaten her and then things went sideways? Or was his plan always to get rid of Eden for good? Right now, Blake's motivation isn't clear. But either way, he's writing the final act of his one-man show, and it ain't gonna be pretty.
Detective Byers now knows that both Blake and Cassie are lying to him. But he gets an even bigger surprise when the autopsy reports come back. It reveals Eden died not by a blow to the head as originally suspected, but by strangulation.
The detective has two versions of Eden's death, and neither one of them involve strangling someone to death in self-defense. So what does that mean to Detective Byers? The short answer is this: someone's lying.
So?
Detective Byers confronts Blake with the evidence that Eden was strangled.
What do you have to say about that?
Directly contradicting Blake's earlier story of killing Eden in self-defense.
Cough it up. What's the real story?
The actor's tough exterior crumbles.
You got me.
He tells the detective he had no choice.
She deserved it.
When Blake gets home from set after performing his final love scene with Eden, he's devastated.
She broke up with me.
What?
Trixie broke up with me. They're cutting me from the show.
Blake lies to Cassie, telling her John would prefer to keep Patch on the show rather than Trixie, but he can't fire his own daughter.
She is nothing but trouble. First, she tries to steal my man, and then she gets you fired?
There is another way.
What do you mean?
This, my friends, is a brilliant course in Manipulation 101. Playing on someone's insecurities is a surefire way to get them to do what you want. In this case, Blake needs an accomplice, and he knows his wife's jealousy will cause her to go along with just about any plan he suggests.
We need to kill Trixie.
You mean Eden?
Yes, of course. Eden, we need to kill Eden.
In an attempt to get rid of her biggest rival and finally have her husband all to herself,
Let's do it.
Cassie agrees.
Hey. How you doing, buddy?
You shouldn't have done it, Trixie.
What? Blake, that's my character. It's Eden here. What's up?
You never should have broken up with me.
Are you okay?
Get your hands off of him! No! Take that, you man-stealer!
When they're sure she's passed out,
You can't say I didn't warn you, Trixie!
Blake proceeds to strangle Eden to death with his own hands.
Cassie and I went out for sushi afterwards, and I got California rolls because I don't really like raw fish, but she ended up getting this.
Blake!
Why did you do it?
She broke up with me.
You mean your characters broke up? On TV?
No, I mean, Trixie broke up with me. Patch.
Get up.
Detective Byers charges Blake and Cassie with first-degree murder.
It's over, Blake.
Patch. You can call me Patch.
They both receive a life sentence for murdering Eden.
By the way, can I get my trophy back after all this?
No.
The fact that Blake cares more about his soap opera award than the human life only reinforces what we know about him. He's living in an alternate reality, kind of method acting his way through life.
While in prison, Blake and Cassie divorce. But Blake doesn't stay single for long. He soon takes up with a pen pal, a longtime fan of The Liars and the Lustful. She agrees to call him Patch.
So what we have here is a man unable to distinguish fantasy from reality. In Blake's mind, he was his character, and when Trixie broke up with Patch, Blake felt the anger and humiliation that goes along with being ditched like a hot potato. And because he probably suffers from some type of narcissistic personality disorder, there was no way he was going to let her treatment of him go unpunished. It was easy for him to get Cassie to agree to the plan because she hated Eden and figured if she was out of the picture, they would live happily ever after. But while planning the perfect murder may work out in soap operas, it rarely happens in real life. In reality, the couple that kills together doesn't stay together. But somehow I don't think Blake, or rather Patch, really minds. I guess there are advantages to living in a fantasy world.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, animal lover Lester can't get enough of adopting strays. But when he brings the wrong one home for the holidays,
Big Daddy don't like your tone.
his beloved bird
What's the matter with that thing?
will point his claw, nailing a killer. By day, good old boy Lester is the head of a local roofing crew. But when he's off the clock, he lives for country music, Adam Sandler movies, and cake decorating.
All right. Come and get it.
Lester has many passions, but people aren't one of them. For the most part, he's a loner who'd rather spend his time with the many stray animals he's adopted, which he refers to as his pookies.
Bon appetit.
Over my many cases at the FBI, I found that a lot of loners develop close relationships with animals. That's because loners avoid people for a reason. Anxiety, childhood trauma, things like that. But with animals, all that disappears. It's just about loving your pookies and them loving you right back.
Come on in, Anna.
When one of Lester's friends gets married to a man with bird allergies, she's forced to give up her lovebird.
He's so precious. Hey there. My new little Pookie.
Lester gets another Pookie to add to his menagerie.
Thanks, Anna. I'm gonna call you Big Daddy.
Named after his favorite Adam Sandler movie, of course.
Hey, look what I brung for you.
Lester and Big Daddy quickly bond. Lester enjoys spoiling his new BFF.
Hungry, hungry, hungry.
Giving him the run of the trailer and bringing him back crawdaddies and grits from the local barbecue joint.
Oh, before you get fat as a tick, little sweet tea for my sweet Pookie.
Y'all got a 6?
Go fish.
You don't have a 6. 6, it looks like this.
Yeah, I know what a 6 looks like, Carl. Go fish.
Come on there, you got a 6. Let me see
Carl.
that.
Hey, get your mitts up, man.
Whoa! Hey, Big Daddy, no!
Big Daddy is ferociously loyal to Lester, attacking anyone who seems to be a threat to him, even a friend.
But you said that was a lovebird.
He is a lovebird. He's in love with me.
That's protective, all right. I've worked with some scary dudes over my career, and even I would be afraid if Big Daddy was coming at me.
Whew. Beer?
Bear.
Beer?
Bear.
Hey, buddy.
When Lester starts hanging out with a couple of guys from his crew, Big Daddy is very jealous.
Relaxation.
Cheers.
Indeed. Oh. You don't like you up, Hey, come on, stop talking my virgin. Big Daddy, you leave him alone now. Come on. He can smell your fear. That's the problem.
Looks like these guys don't pass the Big Daddy test, and we all know animals have that sixth sense, and if they don't like you, there's usually a good reason.
Jesus. What's the matter with that thing?
Memphis over here just got back from 2 years in the big house for drug possession, and Billy Ray's never met a brawl he didn't like. If there's a bar fight in Lynette, there's a good chance he's at the center of it. What I don't understand is why Lester, the gentle giant, is hanging out with these deadbeats. It feels like he's asking for trouble, but he seems happier than a dead pig in the sunshine. For those of us not from the South, that means he's naive and more than willing to stay that way.
Bottoms up, fellas.
Yeah. Yeah! Let's have another! Come on!
Hey, Jimbo. Guys, this is my cousin Jimbo. These are the guys.
Another!
Ignore him, he's already cork high and bottle deep.
Come on! Another round! Let's go! About time.
Yeah, sugar.
Another round.
Turns out our gentle giant is an angry drunk. Well, that came out of nowhere.
I think you've had more than enough for tonight, sweetheart.
I'm talking to you, Chicky Poo.
Given the way Lester's acting, it seems like he has a problem. And from what I've witnessed, alcoholism can create a real personality split. So while he's little Nicky, when he's sober, he turns full-on Happy Gilmore once the booze is flowing.
Another round.
Well, bless your sweet picking little heart. All right, leave it alone.
Just as drinking releases the anger in Lester, the holidays bring out his sense of joy.
Well, don't look at me like that. It ain't one of your relatives.
Every year, he cooks the turkey for his Christmas Day dinner with his few close friends. This time, he's going all out with a deep-fried turducken.
We'll have us festive time.
When your best friend's a bird, holiday meals are hard. I'd suggest switching to a Christmas ham, but with Lester's collection of animals, he's probably got a pet pig tied out back.
Oh, hey, come on in.
When Lester and his turducken don't arrive for dinner, his friend Carl gets worried.
Lester? Where you at? Big Daddy?
Of course Lester's friends are worried about him. I mean, the guy never showed up for his favorite day of the year. That's pretty odd, especially when you're the one bringing the turducken.
Rise and shine, drunkie. Come on, boy, don't you be playing possum with me now. Come on, Lester, get up.
After years of dealing with Lester's drinking, Carl's convinced his friend has simply gotten lit up like a Christmas tree and passed out.
Come on, boy, I'll tuck you in snug as a bug in a rug.
Carl doesn't want to leave until he takes care of his friend Lester.
Lester! 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 Oh, Lester! That's it. This is Carl. Yeah, I'm out of Lester's place. I need a doctor. I'm gonna need deputy as well. Mess out here. It's not good.
Detective Peacock arrives on the scene. She's known for her no-nonsense attitude and her love of taxidermy. It doesn't take Detective Peacock long to establish that Lester's been strangled to death. But he's not the only victim. His beloved pet lovebird, Big Daddy, is also dead.
Oh no, not Big Daddy. I mean, it's weird that after seeing so many murders, animals being killed still gets to me. I guess there's a little animal lover inside all of us. Even my cold, cynical heart.
With no sign of forced entry and Lester's television missing, Detective Peacock thinks she might be looking at a robbery gone wrong.
But what doesn't fit is the fact that this robber has ransacked the whole place, but only took the TV. And why kill Big Daddy? To strangle a guy, then kill his pet seems personal. I think we're looking for someone with a score to settle with Lester.
While Lester's cause of death is clear, Big Daddy's is less obvious. So Detective Peacock wants an autopsy.
A bird autopsy. That's a new one. What's next? Are they gonna lay separate charges? Try the case with an all-avian jury? I bet if the killer's found guilty, he'll be tarred and feathered.
Blood found on Big Daddy's claws leads Detective Peacock to her first major break at the crime scene.
Lester was strangled, so we know he wasn't bleeding. Big Daddy doesn't seem to be bleeding, which means the blood could only belong to our killer.
While Detective Peacock waits for the DNA report from the blood samples, a local preacher's wife calls in with a tip.
Thank you.
The same car has been parked at a convenience store since Christmas Day. When Detective Peacock runs the plates, she discovers the car belongs to Lester.
My.
When Detective Peacock searches the car, she discovers blood on the door and cigarette butts in the ashtray.
That's weird because Lester doesn't smoke, and I don't know many non-smokers who have cigarette butts in their ashtray. Here's my problem with this killer. Everything he does is almost smart, but then he doesn't follow the idea through. Like, he steals the car, which does shore up the robbery gone wrong idea, but then he dumps it somewhere easy to find and leaves a ton of evidence in it. It's almost like he wants to be caught. But if so, here's what you should do. Just turn yourself in.
Detective Peacock sends samples of the blood and cigarettes from the car to the lab for DNA and fingerprint testing. As those tests are being run, Detective Peacock calls Lester's friend Carl in for questioning.
Now I assume you've known Lester for a while?
Lester and I have known each other many, many years.
Colorful guy, as I hear.
He was colorful, to say the least. He was multicolored, that character.
Interesting. A whole spectrum. You know anyone who'd want to tie a knot in Lester's tail? Or his birds?
Of course. All kinds. Lester had a way of being a fly in people's ointment. You know what I'm saying?
It turns out Lester's drunken exploits have earned him a number of enemies.
And yourself? Ever had any problems with Lester?
Yeah. Lester took a run at me a couple of times there.
But are you saying that you'd have reason and maybe want him dead? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that at all. Now. Don't you to be jumping to any conclusions there, missy, and pulling this New York City crap on me. There.
All right, I'm listening.
There was a bunch of new people hanging around. Roofers.
Carl reveals that Lester's been having problems with one group of people, his roofing crew.
These guys have all done time. Real bad seeds. You know what I'm saying?
And worst seed of all, good old Memphis. He's gotten into it with Lester over money and was caught stealing from him multiple times. As far as I'm concerned, that makes him a prime suspect.
Well, I don't know nothing about no murder. I mean, even if I did, I ain't telling no pig.
'Cause nothing makes you look more innocent than attacking the police for doing their job.
You got an alibi for the night in question, hot shot?
duck hunt.
I see. So killing birds really deals your pickle then. You got an alibi to confirm this.
The ducks.
You can be all sweet and cooperate, or I can load you into a cell for the night. It's your choice.
My mother's gun club. Seniors with shotguns.
I'll check into this. In the meantime, don't leave town.
When Detective Peacock contacts the club,
Oh, he was there?
she learns that Memphis's alibi is solid and that he can't hit the side of a barn with a bullet.
Who would kill Lester? And his bird? What do you think?
With Memphis eliminated as a suspect, Lester's case stalls.
Detective Peacock here.
I know who murdered that Lester guy and his little bird.
Who is this?
Detective Peacock convinces the tipster who called in about Lester and Big Daddy's murders to come down to the station.
Anybody again? They were in the bar, hooping and hollering and celebrating something.
All right.
And, oh, that winged monster's never gonna bother anyone again.
Turns out, Billy Ray and Jimbo have been drinking and bragging about having gotten rid of Lester and Big Daddy.
Were you aware of any bad blood or any past history?
I mean, look, everyone at that bar says one of them cousins did it.
So that would be Jimbo or Billy Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Hoping to figure out which cousin committed the double homicide, Detective Peacock calls Billy Ray down to the station.
Thanks for coming in. I'm Detective Peacock. All right. Now, why would I be hearing that you got something to do with Lester and Big Daddy's murders?
Don't know. But what I can tell you is that whoever told you all that has only got one oar in the water. I was having Christmas dinner at my mama's place.
You got anyone to confirm that?
Jimbo was there. I tell you, I ain't no lying dog.
We got a tip that Billy Ray or Jimbo killed Lester and Big Daddy. But now Billy Ray is using Jimbo as his alibi. Something smells fishy, and it's not Big Daddy's old crawdaddies.
Determined to crack Billy Ray's alibi, Detective Peacock brings Jimbo in for questioning.
Sir, there is no smoking in here.
Why you got an ashtray?
I like turtles. Please put it out. Now, Billy Ray says y'all were together the night of the murder.
Billy Ray's right. We were together all night.
Mm-hmm. Why do you look like 10 miles of dirt road?
Bar fight. I won.
Yeah, well, it sure don't look like it.
Okay, we know Lester's killer was bleeding in the trailer the night of the murder. And now we got Jimbo showing up with all these injuries, which, to me, look more like he got mauled by a wild animal than won a bar fight. If I was a betting man, I'd say, to use a southernism, that Jimbo's trying to pee on our legs and tell us it's raining.
While cousins Billy Ray and Jimbo deny any involvement in the Lester and Big Daddy double homicide, they agree to provide police with DNA samples and fingerprints.
I'm not saying I don't want to help you catch Lester's killer or nothing, but all this is about as useful as tits on a bull.
You want me to floss now?
When the DNA and fingerprint results come in, they show no match to Memphis, but tie Billy Ray to the cigarettes and Jimbo to the blood in Lester's car and trailer.
I have no words. These guys just handed police the evidence to tie them to Lester the night of the murder. And hey, I'll take a match any way I can get one. I'm just saying it's a good thing that most criminals are this dumb, or else some of us over at the FBI would have been out on our ears.
swear it was Jimbo.
You got the wrong guy here. You should be looking at Billy Ray.
Blood may be thicker than water, but only when things are cool, it seems. Once they start getting hot, that blood thins real fast, at least when it comes to these two winners.
We are charging you and your cousin with the murder of Lester and Big Daddy.
I was there that night, but I didn't kill nobody. It was all Billy Ray.
Oh, that's so?
I got no reason to want to cream Lester's corn, not like Billy Ray.
Jimbo is ready to flip on his cousin, for the right immunity deal, of course. Jimbo reveals that Billy Ray recently got caught ripping Lester off.
You better give your heart to Jesus, boy, because your butt is mine.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
What, just because I took a couple of bucks from you, gave myself a little advance?
Big Daddy, he don't like your tone.
Turns out Lester caught Billy Ray withdrawing large sums from petty cash.
We know there was a fight. And Jimbo said you did it. You killed Lester.
No. I might have gone to his place. We might have had a fight, but we had a couple of beers and we sorted ourselves out.
Billy Ray has a very different ending to the story.
Now listen, this what's gonna happen. You are gonna work for me for free until we're good and squared up. Or maybe I'll just call the coppers. Your choice.
Fine. Sometimes you make my ass itch, Lester.
Yeah, well, you make me scratch worse than poison oak.
Well, get us another round. Put it on me. Hey, why do I need to go and kill a man when everything's all sorted?
I don't know. Why would you?
Well, this is a tough one. Jimbo's right that Billy Ray has bad blood with Lester, but Jimbo's got a lot of cuts and his blood is in the trailer. So what do you do when you're trapped in a he said? Well, you go back to your witnesses, of course.
What are your findings, Doc?
The victim has a cranial cerebral injury caused by blunt force trauma.
Anything else?
Most importantly of all, however, Dr. Herod reports that during the autopsy, he discovered blood on Big Daddy's beak and claws. And once again, the DNA matches Jimbo.
What kind of bird is this anyway?
That is a lovebird. It's a part of the parrot family.
You don't say.
Yeah, people like to buy them in pairs, but Big Daddy here was flying solo. Poor guy.
Big Daddy was so protective that he'd go after anyone attacking Lester. Jimbo's pecked and clawed up, so obviously he was Big Daddy's target. You know, when Jimbo says we should have seen the other guy in this bar fight, I thought that was because the other guy was in worse shape. Not that he was a bird.
I just want to let you know, Jimbo ruled over Anya. He said he'd rat you out for a deal. But I think we both know who the real killer is.
Jimbo's betrayal is Billy Ray's breaking point. Billy Ray admits that the night of the murder, he went to Lester's trailer under the guise of spreading Christmas cheer.
Let's start. Party
All
time.
right, happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Lester.
Billy Ray knew Lester would never turn down free booze.
Go have us a party.
Mate. Big one for the big man.
Big Daddy likes a teapot. Keeps his claws warm.
Well, cheers to that. Let me get you one more there, Lester. Come on.
Oh, boy.
Come on.
We gotta pace ourselves, boys.
We are.
It's not
Fast
even
pace. Come here.
Christmas evening.
Once the cousins got Lester good and plastered, they got down to business.
Hey, you know, Lester, I want to talk business. You owe me for all that work I've been doing for you.
Let me get this straight. Billy Ray defrauds Lester by dipping into the petty cash. Then, when he's partway through working off the money he's stolen, he decides that Lester's ripping him off and needs to give him back pay for the work he's done. Well, that just might be the definition of brazen.
I don't work for nothing, you know.
You serious? Oh, shit. You know, I never should have hired a bunch of townies. Y'all are about as useless as a steering wheel on a mule. You know, maybe I should just go call the coppers. Have them chuck you back in the joint where you belong.
You shut your mouth up about my cousin, boy.
Go! Go!
Grab turkey, Jimbo! Turkey! Come on, Jimbo! Come on!
Despite Big Daddy's sacrifice, he's unable to save his owner.
Oh, please. Get Big Daddy to a vet. You can kill me. Just get him the help he needs.
Turns out Jimbo's motive was defending his cousin's reputation. The problem with hotheads like Billy Ray and Jimbo is that they go straight from 0 to 60, so something as simple as defending someone's honor can easily turn deadly, especially when you've got a button pusher like a drunken Lester around.
Looks like you and your bird are going the way of the dodo. Whoa!
As the adrenaline of the fight fades away,
Quick, grab that. Mess up the place a bit.
Billy Ray and Jimbo get focused on saving themselves.
Cool, scary. So it doesn't surprise me at all that Dumb and Dumber over there have this brilliant brainwave about making the killings look like a robbery gone wrong. But in their hazy state, all they manage to do is create a fake robbery gone wrong.
Billy Ray and Jimbo are both convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
Can't believe that stupid bird put us here.
Stupid bird. You're the one who killed my boss in his own place and left your blood all over her, were?
Turns out Lester's love of animals continues after his death. He leaves all of his money to the Humane Society. Animals have a big impact on Jimbo, too. He's nicknamed Tweety in prison in honor of his lovebird scars. Sure, that worked out well. It goes to show you, never go up against a lovebird when, as the Southerners say, you ain't got the sense of a goose.